All right, you're all set.
All right, so we're going to talk about a listing appointment. I'm going to go over some forms for a listing, and then I'm going to kind of talk about how I sold my neighborhood. So, first things first, obviously, you're going to get a phone call or you're going to be reaching out to people to list their house. So, you set up the meeting. I always, when I book the appointment for the listing appointment, I go ahead and book pictures ahead of time. So a lot of these photographers, I use Studio M360 and they do a really good job. Um, drone is included in like their basic package. So um, they'll include those drone pictures, which people love. So you can see the location of the house when it's zoomed out, you get the aerial shots. Everybody loves that. And I think Amanda has some other people for photography too. I just have used them forever. So I make Jerry shoot all my pictures because he's the owner and he does the best pictures in my opinion. So I told him, I was like, I only want you to do my pictures from now on. So I order those ahead of time, even if I don't know if I'm going to get the listing, because I want to get on the schedule, and depending on what their availability is, you know, I've had people that are like, I want to list tomorrow. And I'm like, then I'm scrambling around, but at least that part's been taken care of and, you know, we can move forward quickly. So obviously before you even get there, you're pulling comps, making sure that, you know, you're going to price it appropriately. In my neighborhood, I've been listing properties way higher than they should be, and they've been going under contract, but we have been due for an increase anyway. So you're looking at comps, and you're looking at comps in surrounding neighborhoods too. So that's something I had to do with my specific neighborhood too, because we were listed so low for so long that I had to look at Summer House and Paddler's Cove and all the different neighborhoods to really get an idea of where we should have been this whole time. So make sure you're always looking at surrounding neighborhoods, because that's going to be a big deal to make sure, you know, that you can get the most for the client. So you're going to have your comps when you show up. Your listing appointments are going to be done the night before. What's your question, Gina? You can unmute.
Okay. So I understand, like I'm brand new. So I understand if you're in a neighborhood, I understand the bedrooms and stuff like this, like, you know, for your comps. But how do you include how much land they have? So that's like, you know, because I'm on like, you know, the MLS and I could see like comps, but then I could see that one lot is bigger than another. And so to me, I'm kind of confused in how that all incorporates.
Is this in a neighborhood, or is this like a property on like, it's like a specialty property where it has a bunch of land and a house and there's just not a whole lot of comps around?
No, just like, no, this is like in the neighborhood, like, you know, houses. So I was trying to like figure out like, okay, well, they have the same amount of bedrooms, you know, bathrooms, maybe like a half bath or so, but like one has bigger land than the other. So like, how do I?
Bigger are you talking?
Not much, but you know, I'm just trying to figure
Lot,
that out.
so it's more desirable. So the value is there, but as far as like, so
what it looks like also.
it looks like, I mean, is it fit? So is there value in how, I mean, if we're only talking like 0.2 bigger of an acre, it's just gonna provide you more offers. So you know what I'm saying? In a neighborhood, you're really just going, I do account for some of that, but you still want to be within what everybody else is kind of doing, because their own, and that's a selling point when you're marketing that, to say, hey, this bigger lots than most in the neighborhood, and like really push that out, because that's value to a potential buyer. So
yeah, because the neighborhood like I live in, like some of the houses have no backyard and some of them do, but all the houses are basically the same. But it's just like, there's just like that different part of, okay, you know, that's what I'm a little confused about.
Gina, let me give you the appraiser answer, and Darcy can help as well if I misspeak. But the appraiser would do something called paired sales. So they would go and look for two houses that sold that are very similar but had the difference that you're looking for. So one of those would have a gorgeous backyard, one of them would have no backyard. And you go and look at the difference in the price there. And if you can find a second set of paired sales as well, like that will help you to determine what your adjustment is. That's a standard practice. I know that's not always going to work, especially if you don't have enough sales to do that, but that's going to be a standard practice. And tax records are another way to look. You can go look at the land value, you can go look at the assessed value and compare that to your comps. And then you have at least like a starting point.
Cool. I like it. And that's going to be J-Town in the house.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to tell you is I'm not at a club right now. I'm sitting outside of Starbucks, but they are blaring the reggaeton. Sorry I'm late. Also, I just wanted to tell Gina and Karen, and is Darcy on here? Hey, Darcy. Hey, we are under contract on Whistle Stop, over asking price, and closing December the 9th. So great job, ladies. You did incredible.
Was it the person who brought the contractor with them?
I'm not sure. It was they actually had a showing on Friday and then they came back through on
Yes.
Saturday.
Okay. I knew. Okay. Yep.
Yep. Yeah. Moving from Oregon. Can't get enough of the Charlotte market, you know?
Super cool. All right. So we talked about comps. And that's going to also come into with the bigger land lots and stuff, looking at those surrounding neighborhoods too, Gina. And seeing if there can be used as comps as well. So when you show up to the house, and this is going to be, I'm trying to do this in the most elementary way that I can and still not go too fast. So if I'm going too fast, stop me. So when you show up to the meeting, you're going to already have your comps. You're going to already have your pictures ordered, even if you don't think they're going to hire you, which they will. So I don't show up early to a listing appointment. When you say you're going to be there at 10 o'clock, be there at 10 o'clock on the dot. Like people aren't, if you show up 10 minutes early, like it's always great. We're like programmed to show up 10 minutes early. But if you're showing up right on time, they don't know what to do if they're already nervous. Like they're already nervous. They haven't met with anybody. They're freaking out. And then you show up 10 minutes early. They weren't ready. They were trying to clean before you got there. It's too much stress. So if you show up right on time, they know you're going to be there for that time. And even if I do show up 5 minutes early, I park at the corner and like play on my phone, pull up right on time. So when you walk in, you're going to compliment, don't go overboard, but you're going to compliment their house. Find something so that, you know, they feel good about their house. Cause again, they're nervous because they have no idea how this appointment's going to go. So take control of the situation. So when you walk in, you're going to, you know, they're going to be like, oh, but do you want to do this? And do you want to do, and they're nervous. So calm their, like in a calming tone. I'm always like, okay, so here is what's going to happen. We're going to walk through the home and we're going to make a list of staging items with your own furniture. Like we're not going to go crazy and hire a stager. We're going to sit down and talk about money because that's what we're here for. Like you're selling, you're going to make a buck. And then we're going to go through the listing presentation and kind of go through what I offer. And I will pull that up in a second. I just want to kind of give you an overview of what's going to happen. So we'll go through the listing presentation and kind of talk about what the steps are so that, hold on, I'm just reading something, reading from Darcy. Okay, so Darcy, that's fine. I have an eye for it, and I was taught by my, when I was on a team, when I first started real estate, he was very funny about certain things. So you can hire a stager, but that might not be in the budget. So, you know, you can always suggest that and maybe add that to your listing presentation. Like, hey, this is an option and I have a good stager. I've used Karen Salata before. She's good. But you don't have to always do that. It's more of a learned thing when you're going in a house. So I'm going to show you I'll just show you now. So let me find a good one. I should have this on a PowerPoint because you're not gonna be able to see it, but I did a listing appointment. I bring a notebook and this is what I go through their whole house with. So this is what I'm doing first. It gets them able to talk to you and kind of go through like, just have a conversation. And then going through their house, you're going to find things that you connect on. So it's like finding that personal, what do I want to say, Jordan? Like you're finding something you can connect on. So you'll find something. So like entry, I put, well, this isn't a good one. Let me see if I have it on. So I always start at entry usually and kind of go through the rooms. But like one of them, you know, I wanted her to put up the dog leashes that were hanging there, any hats that are hanging up on like a drop zone or whatever they have, you know, like, so I'm going room to room, pull up all the rugs in the bathroom. I want them to see the floors, pull up now like dining room rugs. It's dining room rugs and living room rugs are fine, but you don't want all these bathroom rugs and kitchen rugs. And it's letting people be able to see the space and picture their own items in there. So making it really a clean slate, no pictures on the walls, if at all possible, unless they just absolutely want to. I had a client that had to keep these pictures up, whatever. No family pictures. I always tell people for safety, especially with kids. People are weird and we don't know who's walking through the house. Clearing out the shower. So if there's a glass shower for in the master bathroom, we're clearing out the shower for pictures, clearing off all the countertops in the bathrooms with nothing. I don't even want a soap dispenser. Like I'm very, very weird. Do the tour of the home first. Yeah, so I'll go, Gina, I'll go through the home first. So let me flip back over because I had notes going because I didn't want to like. So the first thing I'll do is walk through the house. Sorry, let me back up. First thing we'll walk through the house. Then I'm taking control of that situation and telling them, you know, when I walk through the door, what's going to happen. So walking through the home, making a list of items, staging it with their own furniture and really removing a whole bunch of stuff. And then sitting down to talk about money. And then I go through the listing presentation last. Because that has like what you want to charge in commission, what you're going to do as far as marketing the property. So that's kind of seals the deal. And the walkthrough with them is sort of just getting to know them because you don't really have that time to get, you have a matter of 20 minutes while you're walking through the property to really get to know them if you just have no idea who they are. So let's go through, and I can send out if you need like once I get all those list of items that they're going to do, after I leave the listing appointment, I'm typing up a list for them, sending it to their email, personally dropping it off to their house so that they can get started to be ready to list. So I can send out one of those. Just so you can kind of get an idea of how I'm funny about houses for pictures. So send out list of staging. All right, and then let's go through. Let's go through sitting down and talking about money. So once I get them sat down, I'll go ahead and just pull up my listing presentation. So it's there and it's just sitting there, but I will actually pull out let me go to screen sharing so I can pop this up real quick. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never done this. I just hit desktop, Amanda. Yeah, okay.
So, oh, you got it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Don't let this confuse you. I just use a different platform than SkySlope, but I'm just going to pull up. Let's use this one. So here's a listing agreement. We can kind of go through this too. So I just pull up, kind of go through this very preliminarily. I don't like go into depth, but I already have on there what my percentage is going to be. So in this case, we did 2.5 and 2.5, and they're in my neighborhood. I don't have to drive anywhere. So yes, do I give them a deal because they're my neighbors? Absolutely, because I've gotten a million listings in here from this. So we'll go through this. I feel like this can be, we'll talk about this at the end, but this is just, I'm just walking you through what I do. So at the end of kind of going through all of this, I'll do a net sheet. So I'll figure out and do some simple math, ask them what do they, and say, hey, it's going to get really personal here. And like, I'm sorry, but this is, I'm trying to help you. So what do you owe on the house? So you'll figure out what they owe, what you're going to list it for, because you've already pulled those comps. You already know around about what you're going to list it for.
Do you have a form? Do you have a form net, seller net, or do you, what do you
I
use?
used to use a form, and then when I'm only doing like simple calculations and kind of estimating closing costs, I just wing it. You can do a net sheet. I think we have one, don't we?
So yeah, we have several different versions. Andrea has one she likes. The state does have one in zip forms as well.
Yeah, and depending on like, attorney's fees are pretty close together on what's, you know, for a seller, what the closing costs are going to be. So you can kind of estimate that, you know, a roundabout of what it's going to be. And you're making sure like, hey, this is all just a very estimated number, but you already, realtor fees are easy. That's cut and dry. It's just going to really be your closing cost. That's going to be approximate anyway. So, you know, you're doing the math in front of them and saying, this is what you will net. And most of the time they're like, okay, like, where do I sign? But then we're going to move into, now that they already know what they need to do with their home. They're not nervous anymore. Siri's asking me what she can do. I have a lot. So you've already got them comfortable with you. Now you're talking about money. Now they know, because that's what you're there for them. Now they know what they're netting on the property after realtor fees, after everything is said and done. Then I'll pull up my listing presentation. And my listing presentation needs to be completely redone. So keep that in mind. I just haven't had time to work on it. So this is what I'll have pulled up while we're talking and stuff.
And we do have 3 different versions of this. So you are looking at the horizontal version. There's a vertical version just like this. And then there's a third one that's a different style.
Yeah, and I kind of went off of this. I just need, for my own way that I want it to be, I need to rearrange some things the way that when I present it, that I'm comfortable with. And everybody, you will find your own way to do that. Once you keep doing it, you're going to be like, okay, this needs to go here, because that's not how I talk about
like the order of the topics and slides.
Yes. Yeah. So I always tell people, like, you'll see a bunch of homes in here. These are homes I've actually sold. So I put, you know, all the pictures of, not all of them, but most of them of homes that I personally sold. So, you know, obviously, you know, we want to understand your needs, wants, and expectations. And obviously we want to sell for the most property or most money that we can. So that's like the goal here, and to make it as seamless as possible. So that's when I kind of talk about, you know, I have a transaction coordinator, and she's going to take us from contract to close, and I'm not going anywhere. I'll still be here, but you know, we're going to make it seamless. So then I kind of go into like how awesome I am. And kind of just some points about how, you know, how long I've been in the business, which you don't always have to put that. Like if you're just starting out in the business, don't tell people you're new. Fake it till you make it. Like you're the bomb, you know?
So what can they do instead, Lauren?
Oh, that's a good question.
They can talk about the firm. They can talk about what resources they have. They can talk about the experience of their mentor, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And them knowing that you're under a mentor is a good thing, because they're like, oh, okay, well then a beat's not going to be missed. So I just put some cool things about, me on there that most of my business is referrals from friends, past clients, and repeat business. I always put mastery negotiations. You can use that. I mean, you're gonna be, right? So marketing strategy. So conditioning your price to your property to sell. So that's that, that staging part, that getting it ready to list. Pricing strategy. So we're going to go over that. And we've kind of already talked about that, about what we're going to list and what your net's going to be. Identifying active buyers. So that's all through your MLS. Some of this is kind of like fluffy, but you're going to be explaining it. So I provide high quality photos, video, and virtual tour if that's something that they're interested in. But because homes are selling so fast, I always tell them, like, we can do that, but I would suggest you wait to do that because the property is going to sell itself if it's like amazing, local and national network of over 100,000 agents. Advanced internet and internet exposure. So you're telling them, this is going to go on all the major sites, realtor.com, Trulia, Zillow, like it's going to get pushed out. That's not anything special that we do, but they don't know that. So
actually, there is something special that ROG does if a property is over 350,000, and I will find that out for you.
Oh yeah, find that out because I didn't know that. So Realty One Group marketing and signage. So, obviously you're going to have a sign in the yard. You're going to be marketing with Realty One Group on there type thing. So for marketing strategy. And obviously I'm talking way different to the client. So this is kind of weird for me to like teach you this, but we're going to hang in there. So staging, and then I just kind of go into that, it's going to basically bring out the strengths in the home and show it to its maximum potential. So it's going to be very plain. It's going to allow clients to, buyer clients to come in and view it through their eyes, view their stuff the way they are going to decorate it, basically. So I take the time to go through and we've already made a list of items. See, this is what I need to be switching around and stuff. It's all out of order. So the listing items that we need to do prior to pictures. So determining price and preparing to sell. So obviously if the location's good, if we have good schools around, that type of thing, the location's going to be a big deal. The condition of the property, how does the landscaping look? Could a fresh layer of pine straw be laid so that when people walk up, you got to think they're standing at the door for a good 5 minutes, just checking out, looking around because the agent's fumbling around with the key box to get in, so that's like a point of, they focus on that. They have the time to focus on that. Supply and demand, obviously we have the demand, there's just hardly any supply. Economic trends, so what's been going on in that specific neighborhood and surrounding areas and what's going on with the economy too. I mean, obviously don't get too into it. And then negotiations, so just being strategic. So I love negotiating deals, but one thing that I've noticed in listing multiple properties in my own neighborhood is that I've been able to strategize when the big ones are closing so that the new ones that are coming up are going to be able to close at that price and listing at a certain time, and knowing that that appraisal is going to be done within that next 2 weeks out. So I have to make sure I list this. We have to wait to list in order to catch that other appraisal that was done for the higher price. So there's, even in listing, there's some strategies going on, but that was the benefit of hiring me, right? Because we're going to get the most, and I'm slowly creeping that up, but I'm like, we have to, it's got to be so strategic in here. And that comes from time, from doing this for a while. So power of social media. So, having with ROG, having the huge, the large online footprint, high quality photos, video, it'll expose your listing to leads around the world. So then it kind of goes into like millennials and, social media and having the highest quality leads. And I think it's on the next slide where it talks, or a couple slides down, it was talking about converts to so many different languages and stuff. So that's kind of cool. I didn't know that. So promote your app. So you want them to be going through your Realty One app, because when they search properties and click on something, that's going to get sent to you directly. So they can search. I mean, this syndicates with all the, right, Amanda? This syndicates with all the major sites, or does it do MLS?
This is MLS, but we are in multiple MLSs, and all the MLSs that our offices are in go together into the app. So even if you're in Charlotte, but Fort Mill's in the Columbia MLS, it's still on the app. Good question though, like, can they search in Pennsylvania? I would have to check on that.
I don't know. I've never tried to.
So I'm gonna buck the system here, because I think there's inherent value in what you're saying, Lauren, as far as like being able to. Sorry, there's Christmas music in the background. I don't know what's going on. I think there's inherent value in what you're saying as far as, you know, being able to like track and see what they favored and all that. But like the reality is, if they're looking for a house, they probably already have Zillow or Realtor or Redfin on their phone, and they probably don't have your app.
Yeah.
And Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor are all way easier to use than our app, because we're not an app company, we're a real estate company.
Yeah.
So, you know, I use Zillow, the big bad Z word, right? Who are all taking our jobs, and we're not ever going to be able to work anymore because Zillow's taking over. But I use Zillow no less than 15 times a day.
Yeah.
And I don't have our app on my phone. So, you know, like, it is what it is. Like, it would be ideal, but like, I on the list of priorities of like what I need folks to listen to in a listing, that is like all the way, or buyers, that's like all the way at the bottom. Like, we're in a group text, and like I'll send links from Zillow all the time, because it's just not worth it to try to like backdoor it from the IDX to like get you a branded link. It's just not worth it for me. So I know that's probably not popular and not what works for you, but I'll just say, like, I'm team Zillow app all day, and because it's easy to use and people already have it on the phone.
So in a listing though, this is more of like, look how awesome we are. We have an app.
100%.
So that
Darcy,
Darcy, because it doesn't really work. But
listen,
look at how awesome it is.
Listen, Darcy put in the chat, she's used it in upstate New York. So yes, it is all over. And Gina says she likes using Real Scout, which is one of our partner programs. So that's great. Gina, and Darcy also had a question about your presentation and where you use it, how you use it. On an iPad or?
Oh, I just, my computer. So this actually opens up, you know, like a normal PowerPoint what would to the whole screen type thing. And I'm just clicking through while I'm talking to them. But this whole thing has to be redone. So this is just my old one that, I mean, I still use it because they don't know it's all out of order. They're happy to be here, you know?
Sure.
So it's in your main computer?
Yeah.
And you go and do the Wi-Fi at their home to pull up your presentation?
That's a good question.
I'm using my hotspot.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, so I'll have to play with that problem.
You can certainly ask, but
Okay.
you know,
I don't like Wi-Fi at other people's homes. I'm not a big one on that. So if there's a way to do it with my,
You know what? You're not going to need Wi-Fi because this is going to be saved.
well,
This is going to be saved.
Yeah,
What
but
part?
if you want to pull up like and show them comps, I mean, you can have all that stuff printed out, but if it's just right here, like save the trees and just pull up comps. So you want to be able to also have availability to show them these are what the comps are, like this is what I'm telling you, so that they can visualize
right,
what that price is going to be. But yeah, I just have a hotspot on my phone that I'll connect to. If it's not
I'll work on learning that, because that's something with the open houses next year I want to have down too. Thank you.
Do you have an iPhone?
I have a real nice iPhone now. Yes.
So you, I think you'd have to probably talk to whoever your provider is or whatever, but I think
Verizon and my girlfriend, we got it.
Yeah. I was going to say with Verizon, you should have a hotspot or at least some amount of gigs to be able to do that, and before it runs out and it's slower. If you can't get it to work you know, and you're at a listing presentation, like obviously I'm going to be like, hey, I'm sorry, but can I
So
have
ultimately to do the presentation, you don't need Wi-Fi. You just
Right.
need to have, because it's just a file, it's saved, you can just play it, and you can play it in PowerPoint, or Keynote is the Mac version. So you can convert this to Keynote.
Yes.
You can also put it in Google Slides, same thing, all same thing. But what you do need the hotspot for is if you're running comps, or if you're actively showing them something that they asked about. Right?
So this is another, just a slide to say that we're awesome, that we're, you know, this kind of just gets them thinking like, oh, I don't have to list with KW. You know what I'm saying? Like Realty One Group is the bomb. So this is just one of those like little, you know, tidbits about the company that it does translate into a bunch of languages, that, you know, it's a vast network, that type of thing. So that they're not, you know, thinking that they have to list with KW. I always add in reviews. So, you know, I want people to see a few reviews on here of just people that I've closed with, and that have been happy. And they don't always, I mean, I don't sit here and read these, but I just kind of talk a little bit about something random so that they have a chance to. So here at the very end, I kind of go over everything again. So like they probably again are so nervous that they need it reiterated again. So, you know, we talk about the CMA, about, you know, what we're listing at, we're determining that price, you know, a listing agreement and disclosures. So, you know, I'll go through them with them on the brain fart on the listing documents and stuff. And then I'm putting out there, so these numbers will change. You know, I change them before I go to the listing on what I'm going to charge them. In my neighborhood, this is what I charge, because I do a little less for them. So I have it all spelled out there for a 5% total. So I always suggest doing a coming soon. Some people aren't a big fan of coming soon. I don't know why, but I found that it's worked for me really well. It gets the property out there. You're able to, you know, if the client's willing to accept an offer in coming soon status, they don't have to show it. I mean, maybe they don't want to. I let them know that with a coming soon, that it doesn't get pushed out on, it doesn't syndicate on big sites right away. So once you hit the active button, it takes a good, sometimes 24 hours for that to syndicate to Zillow and Realtor.com. But that's where I can say, hey, you know, I'm going to do a whole bunch of extra marketing, paid Facebook ads. I'm going to be posting on buy, sell, trade sites. I'm going to be talking with other agents that, you know, and pushing it out to people. And, you know, our Charlotte Realtor Network Facebook site where all the realtors are, because sometimes that can be missed by them too. We'll talk about, you know, I pay for professional pictures and I pay for professional measurements. So that's one less thing off your plate. I'm scheduling all of those. I'll get with you, you know, to let you know what time those are going to be and if that works. You know, I put a super box on all my houses. Like, yes, they're a little bit more expensive, but the safety measure is there. So you're not putting a combo box that anybody can get into. It's a security measure for the client. And I can see a log of who has logged into that super box. So if somebody shows it in coming soon status, I'm going to know who they are. I have had that happen to me, that these agents just think they can do whatever they want and go into my coming soon when my clients aren't home. That is like total breach of trust, and it makes us all look bad. So don't do that. And then I'm going to inform them of showing time. So I'll say, you know, by sellers, it's, you know, I'm going to have your cell phones, and I'm going to put them in the showing time app, so that when a buyer client wants to see that house, you'll get a text. So it will send you, hey, you have a showing scheduled at this time, confirm Y for yes and N for no. And I say, don't ever, what, Matt? He's sitting here looking at me, laughing at me. Go away. So he, Matt, I'm serious. So annoying. Somebody take him. So they'll schedule, you'll be able to confirm or deny the showing. But I always tell people, don't decline the showing. Like unless you are dying in your bed, don't decline the showing, because that could be your buyer and they could already have appointments lined up. And that's important that they get in there, because that could be your buyer. No matter how much you don't want to get out of bed for an 8:30 showing, it's time to sell the house. So,
And most of the time they can recommend another time if it's
Yeah.
an absolute emergency.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. They can suggest another time. But I tell people, like, obviously that time was the best time that they could see it. And unless there's something really pressing, it's just important that they get in at the time that was convenient for them, even though it's not convenient for you. And I get that. So installing a yard sign. So I get all my signs still through Jim at All Star, which is who, Amanda, do you still suggest them?
Yes. There are also some online options that are ROG partners who will provide signs, and shipping was pretty reasonable. Markful.com is one of them, and DeeSign, DeeSign, and those are in Marketplace.
Gotcha. So I always order a nice post sign. So I tell my mentees too, yes, the investment is a little bit more expensive, but I am bougie when it comes to how my signs look. I think when people drive by a nice white or black post sign that's, a 5 foot or 6 foot post with, a nice sign, a nice writer, that's just kind of my style. And I want people to be like, wow, like she's really, this sign looks awesome. Like she must be too. I don't know. I'm just funny about it. You don't have to go that big. I mean, I think the post signs are, I think you can get them for $100 on Amazon. And then, Jim at All Star also has the plastic post signs. And then all you do is just, it comes with like a whole kit. So it's very easy to put together, but I just think it looks so much nicer, especially for your listings that are, I mean, really 300K and above. It makes you stand out. I mean, if you drive through my neighborhood, there's a few other agents in here. We won't talk about it because I'm upset. And their signs are these metal signs that are this tall. It's just like, I don't know. It's first impressions. It's first impressions of people driving through the neighborhood. They're like, she knows what she's doing and she's going to make my property look awesome. I know that. Okay. Sorry. Squirrel. All right. So what do I provide within my services? So this is where I go back. This is just talking about everything again. And there's some additional stuff in here. So I pay for the measurements and photos, super box for maximum security, staging tips for every room, marketing on all major platforms, and running paid Facebook ads if that's even necessary. Doing an immediate open house to drive traffic. So some clients love this and some clients don't. It's really just about preference. So, and lately with these houses I'm listing, it's like, I'll put it out there and be like, hey, does anybody want to do this open house? And then 3 seconds later, they've already like prepped all the stuff for it. They've marketed for the property and now we're under contract. And it's like, and that's happened to me so many times. And I'm just like, is it worth it? Like, I mean, if a property, I guess, goes, and goes through the weekend, it's really, I had some clients that agree with me and they're like, no, I don't want an open house. And some clients are like, no, I absolutely want an open house. So we'll go live on a Friday, have the open house on Saturday. So that gives, if you go live on a Wednesday and then you're all the way out till Saturday for the open house, it's likely you're not even going to get there, especially if it's desirable. So that also gives, that agent hosting the open house, because I don't ever host my own, that they have, that they get buyer traffic, and there's like a whole thing to this. I don't know. as another tip that I usually do with the client's permission is to put the home active, but not allow showings for a couple days. So I may put it active on a Wednesday, but I'm not actually letting it have showings until that Friday. So what that does is, because in coming soon, you're not getting the exposure that you need on the major sites, that allows it time to get out there to all these clients, which then will stack up your showings on Friday. So it's letting everybody get a chance to see the property, because a lot of these leads that these buyer agents have are from paid Zillow, you know, what they pay in to get leads and stuff like that. So it gives everybody an opportunity. And then obviously that's going to make you go into multiple offers, make you be able to net the most for your client type deal. Any questions? I can't see the chat box, so let me move this.
I'm managing the chat. We're good, but people can pop in. This is a great time to stop and take some open questions.
Yeah, I'm done anyways as far as that goes, and then that's the end. So does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's just little nuggets, you know, like this, you know, you guys are going to find your own style. I'm just telling you what works for me. And, you know, getting the client to be comfortable with you and not feel like a bag of nerves that's like A1. Like, you want to talk to them like they're your best friend.
Lauren, how do you handle objections?
It depends. So a lot of times, to be honest, I haven't had many objections because they see the value in what I'm doing. So they almost feel like they can't object to it. It's kind of weird. I've had a few on, I've had a few on, I want to decrease the commission. And I always say, well, my whole thing is I always put it on the buyer's agent, right? So I'm like, and it's so situational. Like, I'm not sitting in front of the pressure, Amanda. I'm not sitting in front of a client, so it's hard to like really tell you what I would say, but I always try
So okay, yeah, commission's definitely a big one, and that's a hard one. What about price? I want to list it
Can I
higher.
say something? Like, I look at the MLS every single day, and I saw 2 days ago my first 1% buyer's agency on a $640,000 townhome on Lake Norman and Davidson. And I was like, I heard stories about it, but that was my first. And I was like, oh my God. Like, it's just like, so
Well,
like, you know, it's a discount broker. So it's like, you know, they're probably getting their 3%, but they're sticking 1% to the seller's agent, which is like,
So
and I'm actually going to go view the home this weekend.
Yeah, do that. And in that case, when you go show that home, if your clients love that home, submit a compensation agreement for more. Don't even tell the agent you're doing it, send it in with the offer. And when you write that offer, you're putting that in the attachments as a part of the offer, so that they can't just say, oh, I'm not going to sign it. Submit a compensation agreement for more money from them.
It's a great idea.
And make sure it's in that attachment part on the offer. It's number 35 on the offer to purchase in South Carolina. I don't know in North Carolina, but you're putting that in additional provisions then.
It's
right?
on page 10 or 11 in North Carolina. Yeah, let me pull that.
So, and you don't even have to say it. Don't even tell them. Just send them in the offer, because obviously
I never heard of that. Awesome.
a lot of agents aren't going to take a stab at that, because they're like, I'm not working all that for 1%. Not happening. I wouldn't either, but you got to take a stab at it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Your clients love the house. You got to take the 1%.
Oh, I'm previewing it, and I'm going to make it sound, I already know what I'm in my head, what I want to give for the feedback for my pretend client. But I have a question for you. Are you doing the December 3rd North Carolina forms? Because I'm familiar with all the North Carolina, but like these South Carolina forms like threw me for a loop, and I'm like, I'm looking forward to doing that.
Yeah, that's the Saturday, December South Carolina forms. Yes.
Okay. Yes. I will be going over South Carolina, and really, honestly, it's not going to take the whole hour to go through a purchase agreement. So I can also do because I won't have time to do the listing side today. I could really do both. in one sitting, and it may take an hour and a half. But honestly, I'll take the most time that you guys need for that. Today, it's just, I mean, I don't know. I thought I was on a slowdown, and now we're back up. That's
So
right.
Lauren, back to my question. How do you handle a higher price? I'm a seller. I want a higher price.
So here's what when I pull in and I'm like, okay, well, here, I always give them a range of what they can list for. So this is low end. This is where I think we should be. And then I'll give you just a tad higher. So here, the psychology of that is like, oh, I'm the captain of my own ship. Like the client's thinking that, like she's allowing me to make that decision based on what she's researched. And so they like that control. It's their house. Like they should be able to, but within reason. So if they want to go higher and I explain to them, if we price higher than my highest that I think you should list for, what if we list, this just happened to me. What if we list too high? We sit for a week. We have all these showings that these clients go through during the week, but none of them want to offer when their agent pulls up the comps to say, this is overpriced. So now you've lost all of those buyers and the opportunity to go in multiple offers and get the most out of the property and be back at that higher price point you want to be in. Now, I would say that's not a guarantee, but that's what's been happening in our market. Like that, there is proof that homes are going in multiple offers still to this day for way over ask, right? So like, that's not a far-fetched concept. So you're losing that time on market when you don't list it appropriately. Now, if they just flat out want to do it, because that's what happened to me, we did. What I knew was going to happen happened. And we actually got $5,000 less on the property for being listed at that higher price point. I wanted to list at $450. He wanted to list at $460. I said, I know it'll appraise for $455, but I want to list it at $450 because you're going to get multiple offers. And we probably would have been $470, $475 in a heartbeat. But don't listen to me. I don't do this every day, and so if they want to, and after a week, I'll say, hey, if after a week this doesn't sell, we need to talk about doing a price drop. And here's the consequences of doing a price drop. So you run that risk.
So it sounds to me, I'm going to summarize for you. It sounds to me like the answer is tell the seller not to ask for the amount that they want because the buyer will blame that on the seller for paying a higher price, but to let the buyers drive up the price, and then it's on the buyers that the price went to where it went. It did. Yeah.
If I over explain, it's because I just want you guys to really.
No, I'm just summarizing. I'm helping rephrase it.
Because I'm going to tell you, I won't tell you what time it is, but I'll tell you how the clock works. So, okay. So real quick, before I have to get off of here, I want to talk about how I sold my neighborhood. So how many people live in I wouldn't want to say cookie cutter, but that's basically what they are. Just a neighborhood, like a cookie cutter neighborhood. Most of you?
I do.
All right. So when I first moved in here, I was like, oh man, I can't post on my neighborhood site. They don't know me. I don't want to come off as salesy. So I sort of just started doing all these little things, tidbits of information that I would just slide on in with. A lot of it was a market report, putting a reminder in your phone every month, once a month, to do a market report for your neighborhood. Or you could do I could do all of Clover or whatever, whatever market stats you want to share. People love information. So they're going to think, oh, wow, she really knows her stuff. So that's something that you could do. I know I just recently did a post on solar panels and how they're not a good idea. And so from the real estate side, I'm always I'm not a solar panel person, but here is on the real estate side, it's a bad idea. And let me tell you why. Roof leaks. Now you've penetrated the roof. You'll never see that money back in your lifetime. Now you have a loan out for $100,000 on solar panels. You'll never be able to sell it. So make sure you're gonna live there for the rest of your life. So I went through and did all this stuff. You always come from a place of contribution. So in your and I'm just talking just in your straight neighborhood. These are your people. This is who you want to sell. So Susan has she just had leg surgery. So why don't we make a meal train for her for the whole neighborhood and pitch in, and everybody does a meal train for her to not have to cook meals. I just totally made that name up. For her not to be able to cook meals while she's on the couch. You know what I'm saying? So there's always come from a place of contribution. Like I think this year I'm doing a Santa on my jet ski and going through the neighborhood with Santa on a jet ski and throwing out. So I'm just going to trailer the jet ski with my SUV through the neighborhood. We're going to blast Beach Boys Christmas music. We're going to throw out reindeer food and hot cocoa. I come up with this crazy stuff, but it was actually my best friend. I'll give her some credit. So how funny. So, and it allows people whose kids are afraid of COVID and stuff, and they're that's a thing with them, to be able to walk up to Santa on the jet ski. We're not sitting on a lap. We're not creating a bunch of germs here. We're all outside. How cool. So that's something I'm doing. Matt and I this summer are going to throw a pool party with a catered food and a DJ and just have a ball. So also you're giving them information about the surrounding neighborhoods, the neighborhood itself, what's selling in there, what the dollars per square footage is on a ranch, what the dollars per square foot is on a 2-story, because they're going to be totally different. So just giving them knowledge, share something that's going on with the community, like what's being built. They're, building a new brewery here, and just, little things. Don't go overboard, because they still want to see you as a neighbor and a regular person. So there's a fine line between really just blowing it out and being annoying, or just giving them little things. It's just a touch point for you to just stay in front of them. So I had one of my neighbors take a chance on me. Nobody had listed with me in the neighborhood. So I kept posting all this stuff, and I'm telling Matt, I'm like, geez, nobody's listing with me. What's the deal? Am I doing something wrong? And finally I found the gold. So what happened was I had searched neighboring communities and realized that we had been way underpricing homes in here. And I'm not talking $20,000. I'm talking $50,000 to $80,000 low. So to get on there and shake everybody in the neighborhood to say, you guys are leaving money on the table. You're leaving money, and a lot of older people live in here. So they're moving. Some of them are going to retirement homes. And I'm saying, this is generational wealth. You are leaving money on the table for your children. So I made it as a contribution post, but also to shake the community and be like, this cannot happen anymore. What are we all doing right now? And so I had one person who took a chance on me and called me and said, hey, I've been seeing your posts, and we just weren't ready to go yet, but I've been seeing your posts throughout the past year, and I really want to list with you. I think you're knowledgeable. You look like you know what you're doing. Can you come meet with us? And I was like, here's my time to shine. Here is my moment. So I went over there. They have kids my age, and, we connect on this different level of life. And so it's sealed the deal. And I listed their house for higher than I thought we should. But then we ended up getting $20,000 on top of that. And the appraiser calling me saying, Lauren, can you tell me why these homes in here have been listed 12% less than surrounding neighborhoods for the past 2 years? And I'm like, thank you. I'm like, thank you for validating my reasoning and my thought process. And it all came around, and it was so amazing. And once they closed, I posted this big post about, look, this is what I was saying. This is what I was talking about 2 months ago. This is what, so find something that you can sort of brag about and be, if you could just get that one seller who you can maybe get more money for and have the highest dollars per square foot in that neighborhood, it was an opportunity for me that I couldn't resist, and so now I have 3 listings on one street, and I've got about 3 or 4 more that are coming up, and it's like a plethora of listings. So
Lauren, this is Karen. I'm just curious. I'm befuddled. Where did you find the information to say that these homes are all under listing? Where did you go for that?
I'm looking up what we are listing for, what we're selling for, but then I looked at neighbored communities. So I'm in Timberlake off of 55 in Clover. I looked at Summer House. I looked at Cypress Point. I looked at Paddler's Cove. And now Paddlers and Cypress are a little bit newer, so I get that, but maybe a matter of 4 years, so it's not astronomical. So I'm like, well, shoot, like, let's try to get what they're listing for. Why would we not? I'm not sure, like, we're a DR Horton built home, which like isn't obviously top tier, but like it's a better built home than, can I talk about this on here? Okay. It's a better built home than like Lennar, you know what I'm saying? So like, there's your junky builders, and then there's, somewhat medium, and then there's your really good ones. But DR Horton home isn't a terribly built home. But the appraiser coming in here was like, you guys have nicer homes in Timberlake than they do in Summer House that are listing 12% more than you. And I'm like, amen, sister. Like, so it's just looking at those surrounding neighborhoods, making sure that, and do a comparison between, and based on square footage, look at the lot size and stuff, but just surrounding neighborhoods, like make sure everybody's listing where they should be, because that was an opportunity for me that I will never have in another million years, I swear. Like, it was just a fluke thing. It was an opportunity for me that, and here's the thing, now everybody in this neighborhood is listing with me because I'm doing it, and we're getting $30,000, $40,000 even above ask on these homes, because nobody moved out of here because they couldn't. They didn't have the equity. They didn't have the money to be able to pay a realtor or fees or closing costs, because the margin wasn't there for them. It was literally, they bought it and are selling it for what they bought it for, basically. Okay, maybe $20,000, big deal. But now we're talking $100,000, $80,000 that it's just like, boom. In 4 months, increasing a price at a neighborhood in 4 months to 33% is like, it's mind blowing. I feel so accomplished about it. I'm so proud of it because I did that. Like, and I don't know. I'm happy for all these people in here too that are able to have this extra money they didn't even know existed. So then these people that were buying in here before, I'm like, you guys come to Timberlake. They're giving out houses. They're giving out houses on Jack Pine, like we're selling them for free, because nobody would listen to me and let me list. So I told everybody, you got to buy here. You got to buy here before I'm about to flip it into this. I'm about to blow it out of the water. So you better get in now. So I've got my ex-father-in-law and a couple other clients I bought for in here. And within 4 months, their equity jumped 50 to 60K. 4 months, free money. Hello. You know what I'm saying? So these people think that I'm the freaking hero. They're like, oh my gosh, I knew, I'm so glad I listened to you. Because look at me now. Like, we could really sell this house and make money in 4 months. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great example of market research and using it and knowing your market, knowing what your market should be commanding, and knowing that there's a deficit.
And shaking everybody in the neighborhood, saying, you guys, somebody's got to give me a chance. Can you just let me have one? Because I promise you, it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. And I thought I was listing high due to the comps. I'm like, I don't want to go too crazy. And I've had to strategically up slowly. because I don't want an appraiser to come in here. Somebody peed in his Cheerios that day, and now he's not going to give me the price. But now that we've got multiples going on and they're all getting over ask. I mean, God, I had a ranch, 1,900 square foot ranch that just sold. We went under contract for $438,000. Previous to that, I listed it for 420, which I shouldn't have. That was too high. Look what we got. All cash, no appraisal, don't have to worry about it. Buyers are the new comps, right? So like, I don't have to worry about that. It's not on a loan. It's not even getting appraised. So hallelujah. But so basically prior to that, I could have listed that house for 365 based on the old comps. But now that I'm getting everybody where they need to be, they're able to have wealth from their investment.
So if it's not your own neighborhood, you're looking for a neighborhood that maybe doesn't have a high number of sales and you do have to compare the entire neighborhood to another similar neighborhood. So that is a little bit of research and time, but it can be worth it.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I've gotten, I think this is my 5th listing in here. Once I had that one and it took off, I mean, it was like, people are still calling me every day. Hey, I want to list my house with you. Like, you're getting the most. There are other agents, not saying any names. There are other agents coming into my neighborhood and listing for where it should be, but then selling it for less because they don't care. I have vested interest in this neighborhood. This is my neighborhood. I have vested interest here. It matters to me because that's my money, right? So when these other agents are coming in here selling for less, when I know we can get more, that's just wrong to me. And I preach it. Not over social media, I don't do that. I'm not going to bash another agent. It makes me look bad. But I do tell people face to face, I'm like, just see what's his name down the street sold the house. You know, it was listed at $399. He sold for $385, and I just got $438. What's wrong with that? What's happening? Like, I care about how much money you get in here. So anyways, that's my spiel.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. Aaron, there's one more comment. Aaron asked about approaching the sellers initially, and I think we talked about that in the beginning. Aaron, is it all right if you just watch the beginning of this recording later?
Hold on, what is it? What's the question? I can answer it real quick.
How did you approach them initially?
So initially, it's all through just your neighborhood Facebook group. That's it. You're just getting out market information on what's going on in your neighborhood. What is the house dollar per square foot that's selling in your neighborhood? What's the highest? What's the lowest? How many days are you sitting on market? What is the list price to sell price percentage? Are you getting 102, 105, 106,000 percent list to sell? You know what I'm saying? So knowing how to talk about that and kind of put it in layman's for them. They don't know what the hell you're talking about. Like, they want to know, I want you to push this out to me and really elementarize it because I don't know what you're talking about. So you got to be careful about that too. When you're dropping knowledge and wanting to sound like amazing, you could put like, look at this, we're getting 100% of list price in our neighborhood, which means we're all going over ask. Like, explain that so that they're not like, well, I don't know what I just read, but it sounds great. Make them understand.
Layman's terms.
Mm-hmm.
And you could also find a trailer and dress it up as a Santa sleigh and throw cocoa out of it. So that's your second option.
I've got one for sale in Bessemer City. We can do it.
There you go.
Yeah. And so I'm going to slap my signs. I mean, it's going to be real, easy. I'm going to slap my signs on the side of my jet ski, like 2 of my houses for sale, like my directionals. I'm just going to tape those to my jet ski and the kids are going to have a ball. I mean, really. And it's just so giving back, that's my biggest thing is if you're going to be a presence in your community, please come from a place of contribution. find a way to help out in the neighborhood, no matter what that looks like. And that goes for clients too, and anybody on social media. Be a friend first. The business will come, just be a friend. Cool.
Thank you. Any other questions before we sign off here today?
Yeah, sorry, I went a little bit over. I get a
No,
little
you're good. Well, and that's why you're good at doing this, Lauren. And that's why this was really valuable information, because your passion came through. So thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for hopping on. I appreciate it. If you have any
Thank you.
additional questions, message me on Facebook, text me, whatever. I'm here.
All right. Thanks for your help.
All right.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Bye.